Ghetto Free Press, and I'm in Quitman, Georgia. George Boston Rhines, and once again, the Quitman 10 plus 2, Lula Smart, once again, will be facing a judge and jury. I just came out of the courtroom. This is the second day of these proceedings. They are still trying to select the jury. C.V. King has some very interesting questions to ask, and we just want to say to you that we are very happy to be here. I thank God for us being under this type of government wherein we can ask and be in the courtroom with the video cameras. I made my request and they are in. And we promise the people that what we do will be in the best interest of our republic. Once again, I ask that you not ask me for copies of any of these court proceedings inside of the courtroom until the verdict is in. We will not post anything from the inside of the courtroom. We do that because when we know the law, we abide by the law. It's just that simple. So we know that C.V. King, the attorney, has some questions. The question was about fairness and not being able to find out if some of the jurors was biased, if they had preconditions or notices or been influenced by what they've heard. C.V. King also asked about does the people know that this is a small town and that word gets around real fast. And so this little town is a little different from the larger cities in that they must cohabit together or close, they're in the same proximity. And so I thought that I got in, I wasn't here yesterday because I was in Gordon, Georgia, but I'm here today and I will promise you I will try to give you as much update as I can. I do not see any TV stations here. The Quitman Free Press 2 weeks ago announced that this case would be taking place. However, like Gordon, Georgia, the other day, Monday night council meeting, it was a hot case, but yet there were no television stations in City Hall. And once again, we were there because we know that you have a right to know, and I'm going to continue to exercise my right to do what needs to be done. And what needs to be done is the citizens of our beloved state of Georgia have a right to know what is going on in their beloved community. And as an independent, self-proclaimed lover of the people and lover of our form of government, all I can say to you, tune in for the third trial. Lula Smart, of course, first trial ended up in a mistrial. The second one was a mistrial. And now they're trying this young lady again after nearly 4 years. Seemed like to me some of the witnesses would have forgotten what they wanted to say. It seemed as if, though, the district attorney, David Miller, assistant district attorney, Brad Shealy, maybe the G.B.R, and maybe others, there may be a deeper motive. One minister, Pastor Avery, I call his name, Pastor Avery asked me a few minutes ago, and I hope we can interview him, but he asked me, what is going on with this? There's something wrong with this case, and somebody needs to step up to the plate and say something because it is a travesty of justice. I didn't say that. Pastor Avery said it, and I believe him. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhymes, giving you the best because you deserve no less. And we're going to do everything we can to let you know that our beloved nation is the great nation because we do have freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And we're going to continue to do what we do until the end of the Quitman 10 case is over. This is a judge in this case. McClarey, I think his name is.
Yeah, that's the judge.
And once again, this is what we do.
The only you are far too important to be in this court. Now, King is not here. While we are here, where is your investigator? Bring her in. Tell her about that phone. I'll put her in here. I have put an assistant district attorney today, just so to let y'all know I'm fair. I will put anybody. I have put an assistant district attorney in today. So.
Bye.
Right. The investigator can have the phone in the courtroom. They may not use the phone in the courtroom. Anyone whose phone rings or I see using the telephone in the courtroom spends the night in the box. The box is the jailhouse. Okay? Now, the court, lawyers do that. Nobody got to have their cell phone where I can keep it, or never see it, where I can see it. And use it. The next thing, I have given permission to the investigator, Mr. Leonard acting as investigator, to contact the witnesses for purposes of telling them when to be here, or when to be tomorrow, and for no other purpose. Anybody who discusses the testimony with what is going on in this court with a witness before that witness testifies, or after that witness testifies, before this trial is over with, is going to spend more than one night in the box. Now, in this case, both sides are entitled to a fair trial. But if anybody discusses the testimony of witnesses with other witnesses, that person should not even consider themselves an American citizen. Both sides are entitled to a fair trial. Both sides are not to discuss the testimony of previous witnesses with the witnesses. Obviously, lawyers can talk to their own witnesses, and other lawyers can talk to the other person's witness if they want to. The witness wants to. The truth is, no witness has to talk to anybody except the witness. The investigator's contact with witnesses is limited to informing them as to when to be in court or when to be meeting with the law. That's it. We're clear on that? Clear on that? The second thing. This court is not stupid. This court understands that there are high feelings about this case. But this court is going to be run orderly and with decorum. And if I see any person reacting to testimony from a witness in such manners as shaking the head in agreement, or shaking the head no, or throwing the hand up like this, that person will be banned from the courtroom for the balance of the trial. There will be no attempts to influence the jury by that kind of conduct, by anyone. This court believes in open public trial, but this court will not tolerate been this court's experience that people who try to influence the jury with such theatrics often hurt their side of the case anyway. Perhaps I should let people do it so that the side they want to win will not be. In any event, that's the rules by which we're playing. All right. Stayed in your place, what you stated before, was that you stayed in your place? Remember you standing in the state law?
I'm sorry,
What you stated before concerning the availability as rebuttal witnesses, you stayed there in your place?
yes, Judge, because the evidence in this case has been that several women
No, sir. Once we were standing there, I said video.
That being the case, the court is not going to allow a video camera because there are other persons charged in similar situations. And because of that, in order to preserve the jury for their potential cases, there's case law in Georgia that courts have that authority, that this court has a duty to do a fair trial and a public trial, not only to Ms. Smart, but to any other person who is charged on these facts. So in order to preserve the jury pool in Brooks County, the court will not allow videotaping or audiotaping of the proceedings. So you take the camera down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's strictly to do.
How you doing today?
Very well.
Good. What's your name?
My name's Kevin Moran.
Kevin Moran. Where are you from?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a member of Dr. Joseph E. Lowery's Coalition for the People's Agenda. I've been coming down here for the last 4 years, familiarizing myself with this case against these 11 women and 1 man of the very apparent injustice of this matter. This has been orchestrated from the highest levels of this state. The Secretary of State has a vendetta against these upstanding citizens and is trying to suppress the African American vote, not only here in Quitman, Brooks County, but across the entire southern band of counties in Georgia. The women of the Quitman 10 were very successful in using a strategy that the Republican Party has used very successfully, of using the absentee ballot to increase participation in the process. That's what we all want in this democracy, is for participation in the process by informed voters. This has been successfully done repeatedly here in Brooks County. These women didn't win just one election. They didn't win just one primary. They have been reelected and reelected by large majorities in every case similar to the initial election. Today, at the end of the day, on a Friday, here in the courtroom,
Yes, sir.
after being here all week, our attorney, Attorney King, had the opportunity to cross-examine the star witness of the prosecution, Mr. Boone of the United States Post Office. Mr. Boone testified that he had collected the names of and written the names of individuals that mailed in an absentee ballot. This is in violation of his charge and his oath as an officer of the United States Postal Service. I don't want my postman going through my mail and recording who I'm getting mail from. I don't expect my mailman to be recording who I'm sending my Christmas cards to. This is a free country. This is the United States of America. We don't spy on each other in this country. But what he was doing doesn't hold up to the light of day. He presented a list that he swore to of 15 names that he swore put in post office collection box all at the same time. And he swore by one person. Well, very interestingly, upon cross-examination, it was shown in black and white on the return envelope for absentee ballots that one was sent in with a date of July 5th, 2010, and one on a date of July 15th. He had previously testified that every ballot that came in was immediately stamped that day by the local Quitman post office and expeditiously delivered to the registrar of voters here in Brooks County. There were 10 days between the receipt of these two envelopes that he had sworn he recorded on the same day at the same time being deposited by the same person. As the defense attorney said, that is a lie. It was proven to the jury, the judge, and all in the courtroom. These postmarked return envelopes showed the dates of July 5 and July 10, respectively. Those aren't recorded on the same day. Beyond this, that opened a can of worms that the defense attorney has exposed that the prosecution does not have. Of those 15 ballots, they have but 2 of the originals. The other 12 are missing. They are unable to produce them. They brought out all the materials they contend that the prosecution has. Put the boxes out, let the defense attorneys go through them. That's all we have, and these documents are not in there. The original documents that he is making these salacious charges on are non-existent. The chief case agent of the G.B.R. testified that she picked up many, many boxes from the election office here in Brooks County.
Ms. Braswell.
That is correct. Ms. Braswell testified. She also testified as an agent of the G.B.R. that she turned over every bit, all of that material to the prosecution. All that's remaining today are what look to me like 3-4 small boxes of some evidence, some pieces of paper. The prosecutor is even admitting that they probably won't be able to find the originals. The judge has ordered them to produce the originals by the convening of court, in this case the next day on Tuesday. It is highly unlikely after all this. They have looked before. They will not find originals. They know they are not producible. Why do originals that are being used to tarnish the reputation and exposed to convictions of innocent people, why does that evidence suddenly totally disappear? And beyond that, the list that the registrar would have of individuals applying for these absentee ballots has disappeared. There is no record that these individuals, who the postal employee claims all mailed in their ballot on the same day, came in the same stack at the identical time, they never show on the records of having received a ballot. The ballots are dated by the post office itself 10 days apart. This is a miscarriage of justice in the state of Georgia that cannot be overlooked. The Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American and if you run for office and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished. The Governor, the Secretary of State are trying to intimidate and suppress the African American vote since they know if the 400,000 registered African Americans in the state of Georgia that did not vote in the last election cycle come out and exercise a right that people have died for, the right to vote. If the African American community and all people of color exercise their constitutional right to vote, it will mean the demise of this white privileged aristocracy here in Georgia. That is not American. That is not worthy of the state of Georgia. This prosecution is a travesty. The prosecutors, the Secretary of State, the Governor should be called out on what they have done to these women and called to publicly apologize for the 4 years that they have put them under this scrutiny and this character assassination. So that's how I feel about today.
Thank you very much. This is the Ghetto Free Press, just keeping it real. Once again, I want to appreciate you. You are a prime example, in my most humble opinion. While we cannot hate one another because of the skin color, it's not about skin color. It's about what is right and wrong. I think perhaps that Jesus put it best, and I put it in my own words: want for your neighbor that which you want, and have for yourself and your own children. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
This is the Ghetto Free Press. I'm George Boston Rhynes. What do you think will happen here today? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Jody Williams with the People's Agenda Criminal Justice Committee. And we're here at the Brooks County Courthouse where the Quitman 10+2 has selected their jury. And the attorney, they wanted to charge him with the vaccines. And what that is when you select your jury based on race. But this is the third trial. So the first trial, they only had 1 black and 11 whites. The second trial, they had 2 blacks and 10 whites. And today, they selected 6 blacks and 6 white, and they had a problem with that, and that was something they couldn't understand, and I don't understand either.
How did you get here, first of all? Who told you about this, or what the thrust of your purpose in coming here today?
Well, I'm with the People's Agenda, so we've been following this since the beginning, since Tyrone Brooks decided that this was something that the public should know about, and the treatment of the Quitman 10 was unjust.
You also was informing me in the courtroom your opinion, and so I've been following Representative Tyrone Brooks, and some people seem to believe that a lot of his troubles started with the Morris Ford Bridge. I guess you have a kind of different on that?
I have a different opinion because from observing the Morris Ford Bridge and the Quitman 10, all his troubles were started when he pointed out that the governor had signed off on the indictment of the Quitman 10+2.
Okay, also, you talked to someone in Atlanta with the People's Agenda that told you to look for an individual. Who that individual you was looking for?
This gentleman right here.
George Boston Rhynes. Yeah, and what's her name?
Her name is Miss Minnie.
Yes.
Miss Minnie Ruffin.
And the reason I asked you that, with all due respect, is and honor, is because she has been here several times, and I just didn't want to not mention her name. She is a pioneer, and as you heard me say earlier inside, and that is that we men folk seem like black in our community, look like you all are out in the forefront. I want to commend you for coming down. Will you stick around? You said you're not sure if you're going to stick around.
I may not stick around today, but I will be back tomorrow.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
That's about it, and I'd like to thank Representative Tyrone Brooks for bringing this to the public so that we can take part in this and make sure that justice is served.
Okay. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press. George Boston Rhynes. Bye-bye. We're gone. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhynes. And what's your name once again, my beautiful brother?
George, my name is Kevin Moran.
All right. And you're with the People's Agenda.
I'm with the Coalition of the People's Agenda, convened by Dr. Joseph E. Lowry.
All right. I want to ask you a few questions. Number one, I've been here. I missed Monday because I was up there with the newly elected black Mayor Moran who's being mistreated, and I believe it all interrelated together.
Yes.
But I got here Tuesday, and I didn't see any news media here Tuesday. I didn't see any Wednesday. I didn't see any Thursday, and I didn't see any today. I didn't even see any of the news reporters. I haven't seen anything in the Valdosta Daily Times, a metropolitan city. I only saw a little snippet in the Quitman Free Press yesterday when I got that in my mailbox because I subscribed to the paper. But the question is, how do you think that the news media like CNN, MSNBC, even with Al Sharpton, can ignore or omit what is happening here in Brooks County, where we had hundreds of people to march here because this is a very, very high-profile case? Why do you think that the news media are not concerned about voting rights down here in South Georgia? Apparently because they're not here.
The mass media that you refer to is totally owned and operated by the white aristocracy of Georgia. And it is an inconvenient truth that the Quitman 10 plus 12 have been salaciously charged.
10 plus 2.
10 plus 2 with charges for crimes they did not commit, and it was proven today in court.
Okay. Another thing I want to ask you is that if you had not spoken out a little bit about what happened here today, I say that this information that took place in the courtroom outside of the transcript, which will be a matter of record for all eternity, I guess, but without that, the local citizens here in Quitman and Brooks County and all around South Georgia, they wouldn't know anything about it, because when the newspapers are written, which I call the archival record, when they read that in 30, 40 years in the schools require these students to do turn papers on the events of yesterday, they won't be able to retrieve that from the newspaper because it wasn't there.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I think that's why it is essential that this word get out. And I've been fortunate 4 years ago, when you mentioned hundreds of us gathered here on the steps, to be traveling with an international representative of the Mennonite Church, who I contacted last night that this trial is still going on. He has learned the truth, and he is ashamed that the United States judicial system here in Quitman, Georgia, is lynching these 10 plus 2 for acts they never committed, and by the media intentionally, I really believe it is intentionally not being here.
Yes, sir.
It is an inconvenient truth what has been done here. For 4 years, these women and one man have been subjected to daily harangues, allegations by the GBI, put in jail because they won an election. They won an election to office that had previously been held by white males. And for the first time, we had African Americans of impeccable character and wonderful qualifications as educators elected to the school board. They've been elected 2 times since by the same plurality. This was not a fluke. This was not a manipulated election. This, unfortunately, for some, is the South of the future. Georgia will become a majority state of colored people. Our brothers and sisters in Christ will be represented. This is a democracy in the United States. We have fought for it. We are entitled to our rights of equality under the law. We haven't seen that here, and the media doesn't want to be telling that story because governors, heads of the GBI, secretaries of state will be criticizing them and exerting again power upon them. We're playing with some players that have great power and great audacity to use it. We need to stand up to them. We need to tell the truth. The truth needs to be told. And George, you are telling the truth. You are the only member of the press here today. And it's a privilege to have you here and documenting the truth.
I thank you very much, and I'm not going to, because of the flavor of my nature and what I call the nature of my flavor, I am not going to allow you to stand there by yourself. I'm going to come and shake your hand because no man in this struggle should have to stand alone. So wherever you go, I'm with you. And I'll declare before God and man that right does not have a skin color. I love you, my beautiful brother.
I love you.
And I love the flavor of your nature.
The president of SCLC, Reverend Dr. Stewart, will be here on Tuesday. I spoke with the president of the Georgia NAACP this afternoon. Francis Johnson is sending out a notification to all the NAACP members to be here also.
That is power. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. God bless you, my dear. Thank you so much. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press. I'm George BOSTON RHYNES, and I do what I do because I served this nation for 21 years. This is my hometown. My grandmother told me the history of this place, Brooks County. And I love Brooks County. But I love justice and equality for all men, women, and their children, regardless of whether they're Germans, Russians, Jews, or Palestinians. We are all in this struggle together, trying to build a better world. And if our forebears yesterday gave their life for us to get where we are today, then some more of us may have to sacrifice and go to an invisible cross. But in the end, I will assure you that truth, right, and justice will win in the end.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. This is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George BOSTON RHYNES. I just got back from Gordon with Mayor Whipperloo. I wasn't here yesterday, but I'm back today. And I have before me a beautiful sister from Atlanta, from the People's Agenda, I believe it is.
Yes, it is.
And what's your complete name? And
I'm Jody Williams, and I'm with the People's Agenda Criminal Justice Committee.
What brings you down here today?
By way of Representative Tyrone Brooks, who exposed this case, and I'm following it through so I can go back and report to the people and the peoples of the People Agenda.
Thank you.
Headed up by Dr. Joseph Lowry.
Joe, by the way, how's Joseph Lowry doing today?
He's doing much better. He's out of the hospital.
Greetings, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George BOSTON RHYNES. Once again, I'm in Quitman, Georgia, standing in front of the Brooks County Courthouse. This is, wow, day 4 or 3 of the Lula Smart trial. As you know, Nancy Dennett was also a part of it, but whatever happened, they dropped her, and I think they did the right thing. Briefly, we just came out and we're going to lunch now, but I want you to know that the prosecution just gave their introductory statement to the jury, and this afternoon, of course, Shaveen King will do what he does on behalf of the voters, on behalf of his client. I found it very interesting that yesterday, Judge McClarey told me that I could record in the courtroom. And I was recording in the courtroom, and I recorded him giving a very powerful statement of instructions to the court. And I would love to let you all hear that, but I can't, or I will not until I get permission. But I also was told that I could not record. I repeat. First he told me I could, then he said I couldn't. And I respect that. And I'm not saying that as a cover, I mean that. I personally think that considering the other 10 trials that he did the right thing. And so we are just going to keep you posted on what's happening here today. I haven't seen any newspapers, editors, or reporters. I haven't seen any television cameras. I have not seen any major news media articles in the newspapers. It is as if though there is an asserted effort to keep the people ignorant concerning voting rights here in the state of Georgia. Can you imagine not reporting on a case that has been going on for nearly 4 years, and many people believe that is a travesty of justice? They arrested 12 of the most outstanding citizens in Brooks County, and I do not want to regurgitate the same things that you hear all the time. And so I'm going to ask you to Google the Quitman 10+2. Yes, Google the Quitman 10+2. I do not intend to keep talking about the history, the base, what started it, what initiated it. You just do your research. Just simply Google. It's enough information, enough video, enough news media coverage to educate you on what is going on in this case. And while you're at it, Google the Madison 8 and Google other voting rights irregularities in some of these southern towns wherein it seems as if though they are trying to circumvent the voting of black African Americans here in the state of Georgia. And while you're at it, as I close, you must Google the newly elected black mayors in Georgia. Let me repeat. Greetings, this is the Ghetto Free Press. We report what others ignore. I'm standing in front of the Brooks County Courthouse once again. Lula Smart is back in court facing a judge and jury concerning alleged voter fraud in the state of Georgia. And as you know, this alleged incident resulted in the arrest on December the 21st, 2010 of 12 outstanding citizens here in Brooks County. The charge was mishandling absentee ballots, as well as actually doing things that was in violation of the law in the state of Georgia. Short form. A lot of this I don't have to regurgitate. It's all on YouTube. All you have to do is Google it. What I'm doing here now is what your local news media, radio, and television stations apparently has refused to do. This is the 4th day of this trial, yet we haven't seen any television stations or reporters that we could recognize. It seems as if, though, somebody does not want the American people informed. It seems as if, though, we are regressing back to the communist nations of Russia and other third world nations. And I don't like that as a retired military veteran, and so I choose to be here each and every day and to do what others will not do. I filled out a legal letter and document to the Honorable Judge McClarey. Mr. McClarey gave me permission to record in the courtroom, and of course, on the first day, he told me that the first day that I was here, which was on a Wednesday, he told me that I could record. Then when I came in the next day, he told me I could not. However, I recorded about 15 minutes of the actual trial or the preliminaries thereof before he decided, no, I could not record. He was very professional. He seemed thorough. He seemed concerned in the protecting both sides involved in this alleged case. And so I respect him as a true professional who respects the state of Georgia and our form of government. When I reconsidered and thought about it, thinking about we have 10 other cases to try, I couldn't fight his decision at all. After all Brother Rhines has ever wanted is truth and openness in our governments. So I commend you, Judge Gary C. McClarey. Thank you very much. And so we asked him today if we could report and publish what he said prior to him telling me that I could not use the video recorder in the courtroom or audio. So he said yes. So with his permission being granted, I will actually show you some of the courtroom movement and activities and even some words that he gave prior to telling me and informing me that the letter that I received could not be honored because of the legality and the fairness in people who must come before this court, this judge, and this jury. So we are asking you to watch, be educated, learn, and ask yourself a question. Why is not ABC, NBC, CBS, and some of the other local professional networks not here to cover this high-profile case? If you remember, when they was first picked up, the newspaper, the television stations, and radio kept this in the news, kept it hot beat. It was as if though when they painted the Quitman 10+2 on the front page of the papers with their mug shots looking like criminals and gangsters, it seemed as if though somebody might have enjoyed that. But now that this case is seen to be so hot, and this is the 3rd trial that Lula Smart, with over 30 alleged accounts against her, 30 accounts against her. Her first trial ended up in a mistrial. Her second trial ended up in a mistrial. This is the 3rd trial that they have thrust upon this black African-American worker and highly supported person here in Brooks County. She is perhaps one of the best people and patriots in Brooks County because she was so concerned about voting that she actually helped people to get that absentee ballot application completed so they could vote. Some people who had never voted before. And all of this is coming out in the courtroom, and we are here to record it. But I'm just here to say to you, I want to thank again the Honorable Judge for allowing me to record up to a point when he just came to the conclusion on behalf of the other 10 cases that will be coming before this court and another jury that will be in the best interest not to record. And once again, I asked him today if I could release the footage that you're about to receive. I'm asking you to watch, be informed as we give you a little history, but we're not going to repeat the whole history of the Quitman 10+2 because this has been pending for about 4 years. And you know, one of the Quitman 10, Latasha Head, have deceased now. She was a lupus patient. And I have talked to the father, and the question must be asked if all of this stress may have contributed to her death. So let's stop it right here, and let's go inside the courtroom. This is the Ghetto Free Press. The first witness for the prosecution, or the state, was Miss Ford. And she worked in Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp's office. And it was soon determined that she had very little training in the field of knowing what was going on here in Brooks County in terms of the type ballots that were used, the procedures that were used here in Brooks County. The defense attorney, Shaveen King, pretty near set the record straight on that she was really unqualified to give the information, I guess, that the state wanted her to present. They may have done better by asking someone locally, apparently, because that's what I observed from this particular witness. The second witness was, of course, I guess he was the hotbed and foundation of why the Quitman 10+2 was in the courtroom in the first place. And Mr. Boone testified that he is also under or have been brought up on some type of alleged charges through the Postal Service. In other words, the Postmaster General apparently did his job up to a degree, and you've heard me say that they have had ignored it. Well, I stand corrected now because at least in April of 2014, they did take some type of action against Mr. Boone, although it was a little to nothing, as was stated in the courtroom. But he's not on trial here, so I'm not going to get into that. We just want to let you know what is the truth. And the truth is that there are many questions concerning what took place with the Quitman 10+2. Some people believe that because for the first time in history, blacks became the majority on the Brooks County Board of Education. And somebody did not like that. Once again, you're dealing with individuals like David Miller, who's a district attorney, assistant district attorney, who is Brad Shealy, who also was the president at that time of the Board of Elections. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. Then, as you know, the governor of the state of Georgia, which is a Republican, Nathan Deal, removed the members from the Board of Education who was involved in this. And of course, after a year, I believe it was, he had to put them back on the Board of Education. From what I gather, they are doing an outstanding job. Once again, this is an update. Today is Friday, and we're going to bring this to a conclusion. But I just want, no, a little more. As you know, Mr. Boone was the heartbeat of the foundation of this case ever being identified. And he called the names out of the people he told about this, but I didn't hear him say anything about a possible, well, he may have, but I didn't hear, the private investigator. I'm sure more of that gonna come out when C.V. King do his cross on this individual. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, trying to give you the best because you deserve no less under our form of government. Peace. The next update I would like to give is that if the TV stations, the radio, and newspapers don't think enough of this case that's dealing with voter fraud or voting rights, if they don't care enough to keep you informed, what do you think about our form of government? Now, last week, there was nothing in the Quitman Free Press about this trial to give the people a heads up. And I just got my paper because I subscribe now to the Quitman Free Press and have been subscribing for over a year since this incident happened. But do you not know that the people here in South Georgia do not know that the state of Georgia also added Dr. Nancy Dennett to be tried with Lula Smart. And Lula had already received 2 mistrials, yet they are going to add her onto this case with someone. You get the message. So I said from Jump Street, I don't see how they could do that. To make a long story short, I'm sure it had to be because of the professionalism of Shaveen King apparently not apparently, but removed Nancy Dennett from the mix. Now, to show you that I'm not saying anything that I'm not backing up, it says State of Georgia versus Lula Mary Smart and Nancy Whitfield Dennett defendants. So that lets you know that this is the official document in the Superior Court of Brooks County, Georgia. But the newspapers wrote that this would be the case. But now, guess what? When this was changed, the newspapers still, the Quitman Free Press, I got it yesterday, and they are still saying that Nancy Dennett is on this. And the reason they published that because they wasn't here, apparently, they wasn't here to set the record straight. But the Get To Free Press is what it says. We get to the location, we get to the problems, and then we get the information back to you. Now, is that too much to ask of our other news medias who are getting paid and I'm not? But it doesn't bother me. I put 21 years in the United States Armed Forces, and I'm going to continue to report what others ignore, because I feel that the people in South Georgia, especially Black African Americans, who has suffered so much just to get a right to vote, and then after they get a right to vote, then to have the G.B.R. and others in power to do what I have learned from walking the streets in Brooks County, including Marvin and other little small town that I went to with the late Reverend Calvin Benjamin, and we got it firsthand that people were intimidated. And the 84-year-old lady in Marvin, Georgia, is the one that really got my attention. She said because of what the G.B.R. did to her, she would never vote again. And yet, Secretary of Brian P. Kemp has not come into Quitman to even answer the complaints that was rendered at 2 public meetings here in Brooks County. And so the people are asking me, when is the Secretary of State coming back to Brooks County to do what needs to be done? And from the time that citizens here in Brooks County highlighted their problems, there have been at least 2 or 3 other elections, and the problem has not even been looked at, and the people and voters are asking what is wrong with the Georgia Secretary of State and others who should be concerned about voting rights in the state of Georgia and in the United States of America. Once again, the Ghetto Free Press, giving you truth because you deserve the truth and nothing but the truth. Well, today is Friday. I just left the Brooks County courtroom, and behind me is the post office where postal clerk John Boone first started taking information off of official ballots and sending it to an investigator. And today, after watching what took place in the courtroom, It's amazing that no news media outlets in the state of Georgia was there. We must ask just how concerned is the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, about voting rights in Georgia. You all already know that we had meetings here. People fill out complaint forms. I personally, at the meeting, gave his investigator 2 DVDs. Dr. Nancy Dennett, one of the Quitman 10+2, at the Brooks County Board of Elections office, after being in the meeting for 35 or 45 minutes, asked why have they not approved the agenda, the minutes, why the meeting was not advertised. Somebody altered an affidavit, and yet, among other things, one state candidate, Cunningham, was there. He asked valid questions, and you've seen them all on my YouTube channel. All you have to do is Google it. But there's something strange in our world. And in the courtroom today, it seems as if though there is an asserted effort to circumvent Georgians from voting. There's something happening in our world, y'all. And so you're asking me, why do I do what I do? Because I understand that there were those Germans, Japanese, white people, black people, Latinos. John Brown, a white man who died at Harper's Ferry, standing up for black people. And it was a black man that turned them in to the wicked. And so, I'm going to continue to say, if we don't stand up to help preserve this republic, then the wicked hand of Satan is going to take over this nation, y'all. And we have nobody to blame but ourselves. So when our children come up, they don't have any hope. All they can do is take dope. We have nobody to blame but ourselves. When we vote politicians into office, we watch former President Bill Clinton, a Democrat, send jobs over to China. And all the jobs here in Brooks County, pajama factory, Levi's in Valdosta, all these industries just left. And we still foolish enough to buy Levi jeans. If Levi can't employ us, then why should we wear their product? We had better wake up and stop being hoodwinked, bamboozled, and tricked in the noble name of Jesus, or Allah, or Jah, or Jehovah, or some other 428 names that God has called that I have record of. We better wake up, y'all. But that's neither here nor there. The question is, where will we be tomorrow? You know, the state of Georgia could not produce original documents for the defense today. It seems as if though there's a great possibility. I told y'all this, but y'all wouldn't listen. I told y'all that the Quitman 10+2 was just as innocent as you are. But because somebody did not want blacks to be the majority on the Brooks County Board of Education, somebody went out. See, they don't care what the cost. And they arrested these 12 black people. 12. 11 women, black female type, and 1 male. It is a total disgrace. It is a total disgrace that the retired school teachers in Brooks County and Quitman couldn't be in the courtroom today. All you military veterans who went overseas, some of you carried the bullets in your body today, but you couldn't go there and support the Quitman 10+2. I drove all the way from Gordon, Georgia back here to make sure I would be here. Because the black woman and her children have suffered for too long. And I am overwhelmed by the white participation who want to see justice. And you know, as blacks and white walk together in relationships and marriages, whether we like it or not, white children are going to go through some strange things. And when their white mothers and their white fathers begin to see what they must face, even if they have a PhD, it's gonna be another bucket of worms that's opened up, y'all. So I'm gonna close this out. I just wanted to come to the post office and let you know. This is the way John Boone works. We finally found out that the Postmaster General, they slapped him on the hand, but he still got his job. And if you was in the courtroom, you would ask yourself a very important question. But I'm gonna say that for another day. I think I'll walk around into this courthouse and just to take a look. After all, he accused Lula Smart of dropping absentee ballots inside the post office here, but you should have seen him on the stand today. Yeah, you should have seen it. So in memory and love that I have for Lula Smart and respect I have for the Quitman 10+2, I'm gonna walk into the post office and I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna walk with great honor, just knowing that these are 12 outstanding black folk who had enough guts to stand up for their children and coming generations of children. I'm going inside. Be back in a minute. We want to thank Shaveen King and Miss Simmons out of Atlanta for taking on and carrying on the civil rights movement. Thank you for everything you're doing. Once again, the Ghetto Free Press. Bye-bye.
When I was a little boy, there was a lot of love. Love between brothers and sisters, neighbors and friends. There was so much love until I thought that love would never end. But today, as I look around me, I see so much hatred and killing everywhere. So if you got someone that loves you, I'll tell you today, you better love them back. Where did all the love go? Somebody tell me, where did it go? Where did all the love go? Somebody tell me, where did it go? There was a time if a neighbor saw you in distress, they would come running to help. These days, they'll just drive by just to see what's going on, so they can call their friends and tell us on the cell phone. As a people, where are we going from here? What will the future be like? Will things get better? Or will it get worse if we don't come together? I'm sure in the future, things will be worse. Where did all the love go? Somebody tell me where did it